Hello everyone, and welcome to Straight Chilling. Each week we watch and review a horror film for your entertainment. You can send all questions and comments to straightchillingpodcast@gmail.com, and don't forget to keep chilling.
Yeah, we straight chillin', serial killing. 5 cold villains on the mind, got you reeling. 5-star ratings from the floor to the ceiling. If you get your 1 star, no time for feelings. Got a team and DJ, all the 1s and 2s. By the name Elsevier, so don't get confused. So grab a seat by the fire, roast them all with 2. And prepare to hear the legend of the Straight Chillin' crew.
What up, nerds? Welcome to a very, very sneaky episode of Straight Chilling. My name is Bob, and I'll be your host for this evening. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the Innkeepers, as was chosen by our lovely Patreon supporter, Jim G. Baby. This better be better than the Frighteners, G. Baby. Holy shnikes. Tonight's going to be episode number 223.
Damn, calling the guy out.
Fuck. We're not pulling punches anymore.
No.
You already know if it is or not, Bob.
I know.
Damn.
That's actually a really good point.
It's not like we're about to watch the movie.
We're going to watch it live on air. That's how this whole episode is going to go. Oh, wow. This is a movie. Tonight's episode 223 recorded Sunday, July 14th, 2019. Before I get into the review, let me introduce my cohorts. First up, calling in from Washington, D.C., our lovely graphic designer, Randy Gandy G. Landy. What's up, dude?
Hello. You guys are coming in very choppy, so hopefully I am not doing the same to you.
Nah, you sound good. You sound golden.
Okay, good. Well, great. That's
like
good.
golden
Because
goose.
that's one-sided, very much one-sided. I can understand about a quarter of what you're saying.
Balls. Next up,
Yeah.
calling in from Southern Korea, we got our boy Soju. What's up, Soju?
What up? It's your boy, Soju, back in the Southern Korea.
Sweet. Korea.
The urban core of the southern core.
I'm back. I've landed, baby.
I'm back, baby. We tried to get some soju while you were in town, but we failed. We could only find the unflavored shit, which apparently just tastes like grain alcohol. Gross.
Yeah, we went to the Korean restaurant and everything, and it was $10. God damn.
Highway
you
robbery.
Americans.
You man.
Well, it's a capitalist country over here, buddy. I don't know about SoCo, but
Also,
we're out for luck down here.
I also waited to send Michael his posters from when I got into the States. And that shit was like 3 times as expensive to mail shit from inside the United States.
Damn.
Let me ask you.
From like one
who
city
did you
away.
go to like who priced that for you?
Dude, it was just the post office. I went to the post office.
Oh, really? I've
Yeah.
had a fucked up situation with FedEx this week. But
Oh no.
we're
I
not
went to the
going to go
post
there. Frozen.
Let's go ahead and get into some housekeeping real quick there, gentlemen's. A reminder, our August poll pick is posted on our Patreon website. If you support us at the $5 level or above, you can vote on a movie we're talking about this August. The theme for August is 90s horror movies, and the 3 movies that are up there to vote between are Thinner, Scream 2, and Army of Darkness.
How those numbers looking, Bob?
Well, let me tell you, Army of Darkness is definitely
Are they
still
looking
winning.
wiggity whack?
Wiggity, wiggity,
Oh, yeah.
wiggity, whack.
Does it look like all the numbers are in since I can't look at the Patreon polls, you know?
No, they're not all in, and yes, you can. But yeah, probably almost, I think
Not
about
all in.
half the Patreon peoples have voted, roughly. So, but I mean, Army of Darkness is way ahead. Thinner's got a few votes, and Scream 2, apparently nobody likes. So that's interesting. I'm not butthurt either. Justin, you got any Twitch or YouTube news?
Bob, are you ready? I'm ready. We're playing Friday the 13th for this month. I've been out for 2 weeks, but now we're playing it.
Yeah.
I have got it downloaded. I was playing it to practice. I am dog shit, apparently, at this game. I only play it like twice so far, but like, It's interesting. I'm excited to play. We're getting some people on from the Hard With Us squad is going to play with us. If you have an Xbox and you're interested in playing with us, I think we're going to try to play Monday night, which is tomorrow night, at I think like 8 p.m. Eastern time, I think. Need to clear that up, but yeah. We're going to play some Friday the 13th. So tune in live at twitch.tv/Straight Chilling Podcast. Watch us play some Friday the 13th. Watch us all get slaughtered, probably by Hydraberg's Jason or something of that nature. I don't know. Maybe we can all squad up as counselors and like actually survive. We'll find out. We'll see. Yeah. Bob got his fancy new headset.
I do.
He's a real gamer now.
Yeah.
It's blue.
That's cute.
They are definitely blue. I haven't tried them.
My first lawn headset. I can't wait. I want to be there the first time you call somebody a sexist slur on fucking Xbox Live or whatever.
You can tune in live, Randy, to twitch.tv/Straight Chilling Podcast.
I'm gonna be there.
Join in the chat. We'll have the party chat going. You can hear us all talking some bullshit. So tune in live.
Do it. Speaking of live, just a reminder, we have a live show coming up this Wednesday, July 17th, here in Jacksonville, Florida at Sunrays Cinema. We're going to be hosting a screening of Sleepaway Camp at 7 o'clock, and we're going to have a live show following immediately after that. We're going to be joined by Anthony from Something Ghoulish, and Randy designed a dope poster we're going to be selling, as well as we've got, all other types of merchandise. And come grab some popcorn, grab a beer, check this movie out.
Grab a Malo or two.
Grab a Malo or two, yeah. This movie
is... You going to be selling Malos at the show, boys?
I now have to bring one. I'm honor bound.
Yeah.
I know bring one Malo, first come, first serve.
They have homemade
I feel like it won't go in
Malos.
They do sell homemade Twinkies, which I've never had, but they look freaking delicious. So
homemade
I'm
Twinkies.
sure they are.
Ask them to fry that baby up for you.
They probably would, man. So come hang out with us.
Twonkies, baby. Twonky.
Coming out with us this Wednesday, and if you haven't seen this movie before, don't research it. Just go in blind. It's a summer camp slasher movie. That's all you need to know. And also, I was fortunate enough this past Thursday to go check out Joe Bob Briggs at Sunray Cinema with his How Redneck Saved Hollywood live show, and I got him to sign a copy of Sleepaway Camp to give away at the show. That'll be one of the prizes we're giving away. So,
hey,
yeah. He looked at me a little sideways because
I'm eligible, right?
You are not eligible. I'm sorry, Randy.
Fuck.
You can't win it. He was like signing stuff, and he was like putting people's names. He like asked me what my name was, and I told him, and I was like, but please don't put it on the Blu-ray. And then I had to like explain. I was like, my podcast, we're having this event next week, and I want to give it away as a prize, and I don't know who's going to win it. And I've heard like celebrities are suspect of that because people have them sign a bunch of shit, and they'll turn around and sell it on eBay.
Sell it, yeah.
But he was
you
like,
guys are friends. You just talked to him, Bob. Didn't you say?
You guys talk every week at length.
Friends. Best friends.
Didn't you say, hey, Dick Bibbs, you know me. We had a long heart-to-heart last week.
I heard he is your new godfather.
We chatted for a minute. My new guy. I need him to take care of me. He was super nice, and that show was fucking great. It was basically just a 2-hour-long Joe Bob rant. And it's actually, he gets into like some pretty legitimate history, and he talks about a fuck ton of movies, most of which I'd never heard of and definitely have not seen before. But he uses like a bunch of clips and a bunch of stills from all these movies, and he has like several points that he makes that are very comedic. I don't know, it's funny as shit. And he started talking about Blood Rage, and he was like, I'm probably the first person ever that landed in Jacksonville, and immediately demanded to be driven over to the Shadow Woods apartment so that I could see those shitty-ass sliding glass doors. And he's like, then we went immediately over to the University of North Florida so I could walk across those boardwalks where everybody was slaughtered. So,
hey, cool.
Yeah.
I'm honestly shocked that he would care about that, about actually walking through it.
He very well could have not done that and just said it. I don't know, for a joke. Either way, though, I appreciate the gesture nonetheless. There's also...
Are we still talking housekeeping?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, this is the end of it, but yeah. Do you have anything else?
Yeah, since I always talk about not having access to Patreon or whatever, I just got my first ever Cooter Club sticker since I was in Jacksonville. I demanded Bob finally hand some over. If you're watching YouTube, you can see this awesome design. Just remind everybody that we have a sweet Cooter Club Patreon tier. We can get these sweet stickers. So I just got my first one. I got to figure out where to put it. It's so dope. Bob has just been hoarding them this whole time.
You live very far away. Yeah, you get that Cooter Club sticker at the $5 level as well. So you get that. You get a vote for our monthly poll picks, and you get other cool shit too. Shouts outs. Look at that.
That's a good design, Randy. Thanks.
Thanks, Randy.
I stole it.
Thanks.
I just don't take compliments well. Thank you.
True that. Well, gentlemen, I think that's about all we got for the housekeeping there. Let's go ahead and talk about what we've been watching this week.
Hey gang, what you been watching?
Randy, what you been watching?
Well, you're coming in a little robot-y on me right now, but I'm assuming it's a my go. It usually is. So what have I been watching this week? I got into Crawl. I watched Crawl yesterday, which I know we're going to cover later. So comments with him, or at least it's in the plan to go into. And I don't know if it's next week or in coming.
Wait,
week.
what is Crawl?
Probably
Crawl,
never, because Justin can't watch it.
Gator movie.
Oh, the Gator movie. Oh, I don't think that's coming to Korea.
If that's the case, I'll do a mini episode on it.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay,
Was it as,
I'll do a mini episode
was
on
it
it.
as good as Bob hoped it would be?
I don't remember what was Bob hoping pretty high on that. I can't remember.
I was excited about it. I still haven't seen it, but yeah, I was excited.
Okay, well, I mean, chances are no. Even if it's pretty good, I'm going to assume no. But it certainly is a movie that I will comment on later. Let's see. I finished up Layers of Fear, which was great, and the bonus content, which was excellent.
You did the DLC, Randy? Damn it, I haven't done it.
It comes with the Switch version. I didn't even it just comes with it. So
It might have come with mine too.
It's pretty great. I enjoy that bonus content almost as much, if not more, than their original game. What else? I mean, oh yeah, I've been watching a bunch of fucking. First of all, Becky and I watched this HBO documentary that just came out about. You guys probably heard about this in the news a couple years ago, but this woman who was in a relationship that was mostly text message based with a kid down the way, and she's like an Instagrammer and all this stuff at a high school or whatever. She's like 17 years old, and she got tried for manslaughter for convincing this kid to commit suicide. And they did this whole documentary, like going through the pieces of it. It's really fucking interesting because at first blush, it really does seem like, fuck this girl, but there's some legitimate points to be made on both sides of that divide. Either way, it's just a really interesting piece about the way we interact with each other online and the way we fantasize about what the people that we're not actually speaking directly to, but we all, you know what I mean? It's really interesting. It's like this fantasy world that she's living in that's sort of, prompted the whole thing. And in that same vein, I also been watching a bunch of spooky YouTube channels. Nexpo is one I've been watching, which is I believe he's just a kid in Texas making breakdowns of spooky internet stuff. Some of it's creepypasta stuff, but some of it's real life events talking about you guys remember the movie The Game?
Yeah,
we've talked about it recently.
Yeah.
So there was sort of a real life kind of version of that, not based on that movie or anything, but where people ran around and were racing, basically, sort of like Amazing Race, but untelevised. And they set up all these elaborate, clues and stuff, escape room level, stuff to figure out, and the first person to get to wherever wins the prize, basically. And there was one in particular. This one that he was talking about had somebody basically misunderstand some clues, pretty easily misunderstood clues, by the way, that led to him falling in a mine shaft and breaking some vertebrae and being paralyzed from the neck down.
Damn.
So, yeah, be careful with that shit. That was back in the day. That was early 2000s, I want to say. Anyway, so there's videos like that, and it's the same sort of thing where it's he also covers internet stalkers and things like that. It's just really interesting thinking about the way we're led by a non-actual person, no personal entity in front of you is telling you anything. You're getting all this information secondhand, basically from the internet or from some correspondence, and the way that we like react to that psychologically, it's fucking interesting to think about. So yeah, that's my really long what you been watching segment.
Swag. Justin, what you been watching, man?
I finished up Stranger Things since the last time we talked. We'll be covering that next week. So I finished that up before I left the States. On the plane, Rob's favorite director, Eli Roth, had a film on there called what was The House with a Clock in Its Walls?
Yeah.
Which I wanted to watch
that. That's an Eli Roth movie?
Yeah, it is an Eli Roth movie. That's why it was
Jack Black?
Yeah, with Jack Black.
What the fuck? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I kind of have this movie. I read that book as a kid. I loved Jonathan Belair's books as a kid, and I've been meaning to watch that movie.
Yeah,
I've heard it's not
bad. It's not bad. It definitely was great for like getting into spooky season, since we've started that now. Because like one, their house is like covered with like jack-o'-lanterns or whatever to keep like the evil out and stuff like that. So that was cool. I was like, oh shit, it's time. Yeah, the movie itself like wasn't great, but it's probably like a good like recommend for like kids, you know, like around the Halloween season.
Film, right?
Huh?
It's family film, right?
Yeah, it's a family film. There's a couple like Eli Roth moments that pop out, like some fart jokes and like shit like that. And that's like,
Jack Black, some shit out of an anus at some point. I'm sure.
Yeah. There's some poop jokes in there for sure. But so I watched that, and that was okay. There wasn't a lot of great movies. I finally watched like Venom, because that's totally an airplane movie. That movie's not good.
It would take an airplane for me to watch that, probably.
Yeah, I mean, I was just kind of going through those kind of movies. Lego Movie Part 2. Oh, it's such a long flight, dear God. So that's what I was doing. That's about it. That's all. I think I watched like 3 other movies. The Prestige was on there. I think I watched that. So yeah. Yeah, just airplane movies. That's about it.
Prestige is
Yeah, Prestige is good. It's been a while since I'd seen it.
Is that Fincher? That's not Fincher, is it?
I think it is.
No, that's
I like them a lot. It's Nolan. I get these directors so confused.
It's the dude who did The Witch, right?
Yeah. It's Stefan Spielberg, right?
He just directs everything.
I haven't been watching a ton of stuff, but I was able to check out that new Netflix comedy special from Aziz Ansari. It's called Right Now, which was pretty funny, man. It was like directed by Spike Jonze, and
oh no shit.
Yeah, so it's got kind of, I don't know if they actually shot it on film, but it's definitely got a film grain to it, and like the angle of it is sort of like right up in Aziz's face, like at a 45-degree angle. It's like you're standing on stage staring at him. It's kind of a weird setup, but I don't know. It's pretty funny, and he starts the whole hour with addressing that. I don't really know if you want to call it like part of the Me Too movement, but that girl that came out and said that he, I don't know if she said that he raped her or he was just inappropriate. I forget what she said, but she, I don't know, said that he.
It was a little aggressive. Was what he was doing. It was more aggressive,
and he like opens with that. He's like discussing that, which I was like,
I think he kind of has to.
Yeah, he comes out immediately and just starts talking about that, and I don't know, he sort of explains how he feels about it and stuff, and it's interesting to hear his thoughts on it and like how he reacted to it, and it almost feels like that sort of colors the entire hour, because like all the stuff that he's talking about, he's not like really making, my fat cousin Harris jokes. He's talking about real like relevant social shit pretty much the whole hour. It's good, man. I mean, it's still funny, but it's a little heavier for Aziz for sure. It's worth checking out though if you like his comedy. And I also been watching the fuck out of some Sleepaway Camp. I hosted a Rabbit stream last night because Joe Bob. Yesterday was the 1-year anniversary of the 24-hour marathon that Joe Bob did on Shudder last summer. So they re-aired it, and hosted a Rabbit stream. As soon as the first movie started, I got called into work, which is kind of a bummer. But I got back.
Shit!
I got back just in time to watch Sleepaway Camp with everybody, so that was cool. And I got some notes for that. And then I also just been like watching Sleepaway Camp with like director's commentary and shit today, just trying to get ready for the show. So I've been watching the fuck out of some Sleepaway Camp.
It's so good. It warrants so many viewings.
I love it.
6 times in the last month and a half. That is a fact.
You have?
Wow.
Holy shit.
Yeah. I was trying to come up with ideas for that goddamn poster.
Yeah.
That shit doesn't just like appear organically. I had a fucking meeting about that shit. That was after viewing 2, and they went on to a 3rd and a 4th, and then watched it with you, Bob, when you were in town to introduce our friend Abby to it, which was absolutely necessary. So no regrets there. Yeah. And then at least one more time since to again prep myself.
Nice.
This might be the perfect live show for me to miss.
It might be. It might be.
I would just stroll up being like, oh yeah, it's been a few years.
This is a movie. I don't know. It's all right. It's whatever.
I'd be taking notes during the show. Oh shit.
I forgot all about this shit.
Just furiously writing in the corner of the theater. Paper flying in the air.
Justin's over there scribbling notes. What the fuck? Cool. All right. Yeah, let's go ahead and get into the main event here. Talk about the Innkeepers and kick it off with the back of the box.
What's on the back of the box?
What's on the back of the box? So the Innkeepers from 2011. Written, directed, and edited by Ty West. This is fucking Ty West's baby.
Wow.
The plot synopsis is as follows. During the final days at the Yankee Peddler Inn, 2 employees determined to reveal the hotel's haunted past begin to experience disturbing events as old guests check in for a stay. So, yeah, this is like a pretty limited cast. You've got Sarah Paxton and Pat Healy pretty much carrying the whole movie, and then they've got like a few people that sort of shuffle in and out of the hotel. So this is a Ty West joint. Were you guys familiar with this movie? Had you seen it before? And would you recommend people check it out? Justin, you want to kick us off?
Yeah, I was not familiar with this, which I was glad it was picked because I really like Ty West as a director. And this is just a movie of his that I hadn't seen and really didn't know much about. And he doesn't even have that many movies. So I feel kind of bad saying like, oh, I love Ty West. And I've never even seen this movie.
Slacking.
So I was excited that G Baby picked it. Go ahead and say appreciate you, guy. Again, hashtag hard with us. It seems like we just did the Frightener, so G Baby's definitely on that grind, on that straight chilling grind. So I appreciate that. That my guy. But yeah, hashtag appreciate you. It's Randy. I had to read that like real close. I was like,
I knew the joke wouldn't land unless it was visual, so I chatted
appreciate you. Dude, we got so many.
So it's gonna be great audio. That's for
Yeah.
So yeah, I since I didn't know, I tried to go in kind of blind, so I wasn't particularly like excited about it, other than it just being Ty West. It's so weird to think that this movie came out. I was like 2011. I was like, dear God, that was 8 years ago. Yeah. It's weird to think of 2011 being like so long ago, but it was. So yeah, finally got to catch up on it. So yeah. Oh, would I recommend?
Yeah.
Would I recommend? Yes, I would recommend. This has a
man.
I'm going to talk
down.
Well, I'm going to talk about before dropping the spoiler warning. This has a very particular style, which Ty West does a lot. Like he picks this like particular style and seems to make a movie within that style. And so this has a very specific style that I want to comment on. So it is particular, but I don't want to talk too much about it without dropping the spoiler warning. So I'll say, yeah, general recommend for like haunting. If you dig like haunting movies and stuff like that, then, definitely check it out.
Cool. Randy, what about you?
Yeah, I saw this movie. It had to be probably like 4 or 5 years ago now. Really before, this might have been the first Ty West movie I saw. I think House of the Devil was my second. And yes, I would generally recommend it. It's kind of a loose recommend though, because this is a movie. It needs to be said up front that it's a pretty slow movie as far as horror haunting movies go. It's gonna be delicious to the right person and not to the wrong person. It's gonna be like. It really is going to be divisive. So it kind of depends on your personal taste. It's really no way to try it no way to figure it out except to try it. So I would recommend to any horror fan to watch it. Maybe stop there, and then that's where I'm going to leave it. Yeah, it's a movie that I was excited to check it out again because it's been a while, and I remember the first time I watched it, I was really into it. I really enjoyed it quite a bit, and I'll go into my feelings about it this time momentarily.
Sweet. Yeah, this is a movie I'd seen a few times before. Just when I was kind of shotgunning Ty West movies a few years ago, I went through them all. I enjoy this movie very much, and I definitely would recommend people check it out. It is definitely one of those things that if you don't like slow movies, you're probably not going to like it, though. But for me, I definitely enjoy it, and especially around spooky season. It's like a really solid, like easy into spooky season movie, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was about to say that's generally not you, Bob, with the slow burns. But
yeah, it's like
Bob is. I've been confusing me. Like I can't pin Bob down.
Can't put me in a box, baby. Can't do it.
Your tastes change every 7 years. He's going through a transition.
I'm transitioning.
I just know that me and Bob hardly line up
into a snob.
This isn't my final form yet, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Gotta go Super Saiyan next week. With your new steel bookcase steel.
Oh, we'll get there.
Yeah, we will. I have news for you, gentlemen. Yeah.
Oh shit.
But
don't tease me.
Before we get into that, let's. I'm going to go ahead and drop that spoiler warning, and we'll chop up the Innkeepers. Here we go.
Spoiler warning.
You've been warned. All right.
So Ty West, man, and I guess he's like big on the slow burns in general, because all the movies I was thinking of, like he really just likes to build it, and then some shit goes down at the end. That's generally like his thing, I guess, right? I mean, all the movies thinking of kind of like play out that way.
The Sacrament, House of the Devil, the Innkeepers. In the Valley of Violence isn't quite like that.
Three, as far as I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are big. I haven't seen the Western yet, which and that's another thing I want to talk about is with all those movies, like he picks this like particular style. So like obviously like House of the Devil had that kind of like 80s, like, like it's like he was like, I want to make an 80s style movie, and he like went like full out in it, like with the texture. And I know he did like all the editing in that movie too. And like, did he write? I think he wrote that too.
Definitely.
I think he did the same thing. Wrote, direct, edited.
Shot that one on film too. He actually did shoot that on film.
Yeah, and so it seems like with him, the big thing is like, I want to make this style movie. So like he made House of the Devil, and then with The Sacrament, he did like it was like a found footage, and it was like kind of based on like a cult. So you had like the first one, which is kind of like demons, cult, like witches, I guess, whatever, I don't know. But and then you had like a real cult, and then you had this one, which is like a haunting movie. But this one definitely had like, it felt like a made for TV like 90s horror film.
I'm glad you said that. And I'll tell you exactly what the specific, at least for me, the specific trigger for that feeling was for me. Was the music. The score in the movie sounds like a Disney Channel original movie to me. It really does. It's very chintzy, and it doesn't really match like
I liked it.
But
some of the later scares, I would say.
Really?
It kind of undercuts them a little bit. Really? To me, it really seems like a little Hallmark Channel-y.
Dude,
I hate to say that. It's kind of cruel maybe, but
I actually made a note that says dope score. Like I like
really?
I like the music.
I'm very much opposite camp.
I fall in the middle to where once I recognize it, you're absolutely right. The score like lends itself, and like several like choices lend itself. And I was like, once I realized it was a choice, I found it very intriguing because I was like, Ty West does this. Like, this is what he does. And I was like, he is doing this on purpose. This is the style movie that he wants to make. And yeah, it definitely feels like Hallmark style channel or whatever. But like, once I realized that was kind of the purpose behind it, I was like, it kind of gave it this charm to me, I guess. Like, it's not great,
I didn't
but
see that charm.
It's like, it's not like great, but it's interesting that in like 2011 that's the choice. And it's interesting because like we grew up in that time, and like just the choices of like the guy is like working on his laptop and he's making that shitty ass like website or whatever, but like they said it in that time, like, oh, where websites are new and where like haunting videos, like kind of that's the theme, is they're in this like old hotel, and they're using this old equipment, and they're using it when the internet is so young, and they're like trying to post these like shitty videos of like this door swinging open, like of this haunting. And that just like, I don't know, it did have a charm to me, like setting it in that style. And like, I don't know, it's very interesting that was the choice that he made. And so that kept me intrigued throughout the movie.
I don't know. You know, I can see your point, but like in my mind, it feels like, I don't know. That didn't reach me as a choice at all. I felt like that was just a misstep, that music in particular. But like looking at what you're saying, okay, yeah, I could see like if this was positioned as a story set in 1997, and that would explain the girl's Sarah Paxton's haircut for starters.
Yeah.
But like if they had said it, like framed it that way for me, like maybe that would have brought that idea to what you're describing. But from my money, it really just sort of was like, man, this is kind of like undercutting the suspense for me in a lot of places. Not always, and it got progressively less intrusive as the movie went on, I would say. But there are some definite points, especially like right at the beginning, that were like, oh man, I remember really liking this movie. What's going on? I kind of just got this feeling of, oh no, am I going to like suddenly hate this movie? Which isn't the case, I'm happy to say. But that like, I don't know, that was like a big gripe for me. But like, yeah, and it's a slow burn. You're right. That like Ty West kind of does. He takes like these ideas that are ideas from life, where he's chosen Satanic Panic as a theme. He's chosen Haunted Hotel as a theme, and he's chosen Jim Jones as a theme, basically thinly veiled Jim Jones, and then he extrapolates it into this slow burn, slow foreboding build, and then sort of like big massive action right at the end that sort of puts things into a new perspective. And I like that. I like House of the Devil in particular was super good at that. That like it hit every mark for me. And it was very clear what style that was going for, that it was trying to hit for that B-80s movie sort of charm. And then The Sacrament, it was the same sort of thing. Like, it really was a good use of found footage, I thought. And it was a good use of the Jim Jones. Luckily, I had Becky next to me who has read books about Jim Jones and like told me like just exactly what had been pulled out for that. And this movie, it feels like there's so much less of that. Like, there's just not much that we're privy to that sort of like puts those things into a certain perspective for me.
Yeah, so, I don't know that there's a whole lot that you could really inform us with that wasn't in the movie, you know, because this particular movie is not based in like reality, really. I mean, it's about ghosts, which don't exist. I mean, some people do believe in them, I guess, but you know, I've never seen one. But Jim Jones is a real fucking dude. You know, he's a real guy, or he was.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like
Satanic Panic was a real
right. Yeah, right. I don't know. I like the tone of this movie. It didn't come across as cheesy to me, and I like the music as well. But it's very much, to me, this was just kind of like a goofy, almost romantic comedy kind of thing, where like, you know, Pat Healy definitely kind of has a crush on Sarah Paxton, and she's like not totally into it. And there's like some situational comedy that comes.
Well, and that's
out
another
of that.
thing.
But I really like that tone. This is like sort of a Ty West light, you know. It's kind of like bubbly Ty West, but then there's like a spooky ghost that'll jump out. And I gotta say, I love the inclusion, because this is very much, I guess, supposed to be set in like the early 2000s, right? Or maybe the late 90s even.
I think like the late 90s.
I love the inclusion of like that that style of jump scare video you'd show your friend on the internet and be like, hey, check this out. You got to get real close to the screen or else you'll miss it. You'll totally miss it, bro. You totally miss it. And then
thinking of it now as a movie set in the time of like Dharma and Greg, it makes things make a lot more sense. I mean, it does but it didn't really land that way for me. I will say that like the Sarah Paxton and Pat Healy thing, I love both of them in this movie. Like I find them both fairly charming, but and especially love Pat Healy just because he's gone on to do other things that I love. But and Paxton like a little bit, but not as much as Healy. I'm just like a big fan of his. But they're a little like, especially at first, it seems like they're directly pulling Randall and oh fuck, what's his name? From Clerks, the Clerks from Clerks out of that, and then plopping them into a slightly less vulgar like movie. Yeah. Where they're like just shooting the shit, they're tricking each other and shit, and they're like sort of being bad at their jobs. They're slacker archetypes who have no regrets about. And I just kept thinking about Clerks, that especially at that first third, was like, okay, like I mean, are they gonna go play go-karts next? What's going on? They're gonna play hockey on the roof. Where are we going? And
and it was like we spent enough time with these people, like you said, like fucking around and stuff like that. That by the end of it, like, you know, I really felt kind of.
It almost feels like a comp.
Yeah,
it is
definitely.
And like, it's weird too because I feel like he was so successful in capturing. I feel like he made the film he wanted to make, and I feel like all the choices that he made were successful in that. But for me personally, it's not necessarily like a style that like I'm in love with. So while I can like recognize like, wow, you really did it, guy, like, oh, you know, good job, or like you really captured that well. Like I know that in itself like takes skill, but as a viewing, I was just like, well, like that, you know, like. It was more, I was like able like more to appreciate it for the craft as opposed to like, man, that story really brought me in, or, you know, like, because even the characters themselves, like, I didn't like really like, I thought he did a good job developing them, and I felt it like in the end when like, spoiler, like the girl dies or whatever. But at the same time, like I didn't care a whole lot about them. Like, I don't know if that makes sense. Like they're both just kind of like, loser burnouts, like the like college dropouts, and they're like, but they don't have a whole lot of depth to them, you know, like that, like, okay, he might have a crush on her, but like it never really does much, you know, like I don't know.
I really didn't feel that until he said it. I felt told, not shown, about his attraction to her. And then it's also never commented upon really ever again. So it's almost like just, you know, being drunk or whatever. And I can accept it as that. That's fine, because that's when it was revealed when they were drinking and hanging out. But I mean, well, I was watching a YouTuber like this when he was like, oh, this movie is a slow burn because it has great character development. Duh. It was kind of his thing. I was like, I don't see that. Like, who changes in this movie? Who really? It just kind of falls to like the conclusion is inevitably what you would expect. It never like attempts to subvert, which is fine, except that, like, to say that this movie has great characters, I don't know that that's necessarily true. It has character archetypes. It doesn't have characters with arcs.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And even like the choice, it's so like, I understand why the choice was made, but it's hard for me to like criticize the choices when I know like they're so purposeful. But like, okay, so the actress lady who comes to the hotel. So there's this lady. So they work at this hotel. We kind of, I guess, need to talk about the narrative a little bit. But they work at this hotel that's closing. It's not doing well, and so they only have like a few hotel guests at the thing, and one of them happens to be this actress. But this actress also happens to be like a medium, which was a weird like choice to me, because she doesn't like, everything's just so like, I'm an actress, but also I'm a medium. Like it just happens, and there's no I agree with you. There's no real development. They just say like, I'm a medium. And then she's there to serve a purpose of saying like, I can talk to spirits. And so she talks to these spirits. And one thing that I thought was really cool though, that I want to talk about, when she goes to talk, she's like, there's 3 ghosts here and they won't tell me who they are. And she kind of does this whole thing that made me think of like True Detective, where she's like, time is like this flat circle, kind of, not really, but she talks about that. Dude, what I realized though is she's talking about the 3 people who end up dead in that hotel. Because you have the old school lady who's like the 1800s ghost. You have the old man who commits suicide in like the second third of this movie, and then the girl dies at the very end, and you end up with the 3 ghosts. But she's talking about those 3 ghosts like at the beginning of this movie. She's like, oh, there's 3 spirits here. And at the time I was like, oh, that's interesting, because they've only talked about this one old ghost like from the 1800s. This lady, she like committed suicide because her husband left her.
Madeline
and I was like, well, that's
O'Malley.
really interesting. Yeah, and
that
then,
wasn't really made explicit to me. I don't know. I didn't catch that either.
Oh,
Maybe
they
I'm
say that.
thick. I
They
don't know.
say that outright, man.
No, well, they say, oh, those were the 3 ghosts. Like, I didn't remember that conversation from the beginning of the movie to piece that together by the end.
Yeah, and I guess the whole
just
thing was too, like, by the end of the movie, like, the girl is a ghost, so she dies. She has an asthma attack. She always has to use her inhaler, and she gets trapped in the basement, and it's actually the ghost of an old man who comes to the hotel later, and he commits suicide in like the honeymoon suite. It's like this really, really old dude, and he's the one who kind of killed. Well, I guess they both kind of do, because she pops up at the end. The God, what's the ghost name?
Madeline O'Malley.
Madeline O'Malley. Yeah, she does kind of pop out at the end, but it's really like the old man ghost who kind of like chase her down the hallway or whatever.
And he's fucking creepy as shit. By the way, all these ghosts are really effective. I think I legitimately yelled like the ghosty that like pops up in bed with her, the dead bride ghost.
Yeah,
when she pops up, I just like screamed. I was like, "Oh, fuck me!" I've seen this movie like 3 or 4 times, but still, it gets me, man. It's effective. I think.
It's weird. Like she pops up under a sheet, and I thought it was funny. It almost has this like. God, it's like, it wasn't super scary to me, but it had this like, Casper isn't the right, but kind of like where you're talking about that like comedy and like ghosts and shit. I don't know. It wasn't like nothing like the old man toward the end. Like that was kind of like spooky. Never was I like really very scared in this movie, but
it's largely not a scary movie. It's just kind of creepy a little bit, but there's a lot of comedy, and then every 20 minutes. 15 minutes, there's like a real scare like built into the plot, but not a ton, I don't think it needs a ton though.
Yeah.
And there really is a lot of like bullshitting back and forth to the point where it really does almost feel by the end that like, oh shit, I just watched a horror comedy and I didn't realize. And this is the second time I've seen it, so I should have remembered that aspect and I just didn't. So I was I don't know. It's not The Conjuring. It's not doesn't take itself too seriously, which can be both a compliment and a detriment. The problem for me is that on top of having sort of characters that don't seem to have much of an arc, and like normally the way that even in bad movies that you bolster like sort of poorly arced characters is to give the story, especially a ghost story, really strong lore and really interesting, unique lore. And this movie doesn't do a ton of that, in my opinion, either. Like the lore is fine. It's very by numbers seeming to me. And then that combined with like the musical score or whatever, it just sort of undercuts what I think was like good performances and good camera work and effective scares when they happen, and what would have been good pacing if those things had been more aligned. I just feel like those were like that just seems like it's not the movie it could have been. It feels like all the pop-up book pieces aren't popping up. You know what I'm saying? It's not as three-dimensional as I want it to be based on the quality of the execution of certain other aspects.
Yeah, I agree. And I see what you're saying too. Everything is like pretty, like there's no mystery to this, and they kind of play it off like everything is pretty shallow, honestly. Like it starts off and they're like, oh, this hotel is haunted, and they kind of do like the little skeptical thing at first, like, oh, is it haunted? Like, oh, we gotta like hunt the ghost, and like they're using like the recorders to see if it is, but like it really is. Like there's never any kind of like real doubt. Everything that they tell you, like, oh, there's a ghost and it's this Madeline girl and she like killed herself, and that's all true, and there's no like searching for it or real mystery to it.
There is some. Okay, so like the Luke character played by Pat Healy, like he's got this website that he's built, and he tells Claire that he's seen the ghost of Madeline O'Malley in the hotel, and he just hasn't been able to like capture it on film or anything like that. And Claire's like way into it, and like they're going around with their little like audio recorder trying to get EVPs. And they kind of like trade shifts on the front desk. So they while they're at the desk late at night, they'll be going around the hotel and like trying to capture some sort of proof of this ghost. And it like towards the end of the movie, it comes to find out that Luke was just lying. Actually, he'd never seen the ghost of Madeline O'Malley before. But as we see throughout the movie, that Claire has been hearing and seeing stuff kind of regularly. And whenever Luke finally gets a taste of it, he kind of outs himself, and he was like, you know what? I made it all up. None of that's true. I've never seen any ghosts before. And I think the reason he
bails on her.
Yeah, and he leaves.
Yeah,
He
totally
hauls
bails.
ass. But I think the reason he sort of like started this website was because he realized that she was way into it. Because this hotel is super fucking old, and
Yeah,
like he kind
I
of
can
creates
see that,
this
yeah. Right.
this website so that they can have something to bond over. And that might not be like explicit in the plot, but I think I picked up on that personally anyway. So I think there's like more going on there. And I like the Madeline O'Malley character, they give you some background. It's not like wildly impressive lore or anything, but it's interesting that it's like a bride that hung herself on her wedding night because her fiance stood her up, and that ghost has been haunting the hotel for however long. And then the old guy like goes up to the honeymoon suite, and he cuts his wrist in the bathtub. So like there's people just killed themselves in that one room in this old ass hotel. And I guess that's like kind of the cursed room or the haunted room or whatever. And I don't know. I think there's more going on in this movie than you guys are giving it credit for. It is pretty subtle, though, and none of it's like fucking mind-blowing or anything like that. But I like it a lot. I don't know. I think it deserves a little more credit than you're giving it.
That's
Yeah, I mean,
interesting.
you guys are giving me like more to chew on than I garnered the first or rewatching it. To me, like none of those things were really made explicit enough for my dumbass to figure out, apparently. And I don't know, like you could put that on me if you want. I'm sure that the fans of this movie will. Sorry, Jim G. But I don't know. I know.
Randy always ripping this shit.
And the thing is, I don't mean to say that I hate this movie. I really don't. I still really like this movie. It's just not what I remembered it being, which is kind of part of the bummer of it. But also just like actually looking at it like critically, knowing I'm gonna have to talk about it, I've found some things in it that just weren't lining up for me. And it's either my fault as being stupid, which is very possible, or it's fucking Ty West's fault, and for not showing enough or not revealing these things well enough for all the audience to get it. And maybe, I mean, I don't know. I feel stupid saying that because like you're pointing out some things I didn't think about, like Healy, making that website as sort of a way to garner attention from Sarah Paxton. I assumed that he was just a grifter who like a slacker who found like an angle of something cool he can make a career out of after the fucking hotel goes away. And I mean, I could see your point though. Like, and the thing is, there's nothing but speculation to that end. We can say that that's the case, but we don't know. And it's not even just an ambiguous hint. It's not hinted at to me.
I don't know. I find it obvious, but I don't know. It's, if you kind of take everything for what it is, like he's definitely not as into it as she is. Like when he's on the desk, he's not going around with the recorder. He's just got this website, and like she's the one that's going on the website and like looking at stuff. And I don't know. She's like way into it. I do want to mention, like as far as some of the comedy goes in this movie, like the first time she boots up his computer when he's like sleeping, she goes into like his history to get to the website to like have a look at stuff, and she sees all this like porn that he was
just all
like
porn.
looking at, and I paused the movie so I could write down the name of the porn websites because they're fucking hilarious. So we got
a couple funny ones. I can't remember what they are though.
I wrote them all down. Here they are. We got butt crumpets, fucking classic. Jolly jumping pussies. Jerky blasters with a Z on the end.
Jerky blasters.
Jerky blasters. The spank shaft. The next one is all in capitals. The tit punch. The itty bitty titty council.
I saw that one.
Which would match with her. She's not like a very bicycle. Like if that's the kind of girl he's into.
Well,
I guess
he loves. She loves people punching her tits too.
Loves it.
So
the next one is called tit slap tub girl. So there's.
Damn, he's got some weird tit ones.
Actually, it's tit slap tub girl soup. Sorry. The next one.
I'm telling you, man. This list came from like one night of heavy drinking and hanging out.
For
Definitely.
Sure. I got a couple more. There's the Bang pickup truck, and the last one is probably one of the best ones. It's called Chinese Pancakers.
Pancake,
which really might not even be porn. I don't know.
Could be, yeah, like a lot of these, like just taken out of context, do not seem pornographic. They just seem like nonsense words put together by an algorithm.
But crumpets.
Yeah, it's like, oh, okay.
That shit killed me. Anyway, sorry. I don't even know what we were talking about before that. Got off on a tangent.
I don't know, but like just so let's talk about the actress. The actress thing, like I don't like. There are some aspects, excuse me, of this movie that seem like superfluous. For example, the actress woman. Like, there's no reason for her to be an actress, really, at all, except for her to strike up a conversation with Sarah
to be recognized.
So which is
that's why I thought that was kind of weird. Yeah,
to spark up a conversation with an employer or with a client or whatever. And then there's like mom and her son that are in the movie for like the first half, I want to say.
I thought there was some comedic shit going on with the mom and her son that was pretty solid, though. I liked it.
I mean, it wasn't hitting me as all that funny
Really?
for starters, but also, like, on top of that, I don't know what the point of including that was. Like, it really seemed like, if anything, it's only a detour. So if it's not making me laugh, that's really failing for me.
The Claire character, she's like talking to the kid in the lobby, and she's explaining the whole lore of Madeline O'Malley to this kid, which is really for the audience's benefit. But also, like,
there's so many ways you can do that without inventing a character or whatever, or without having multiple scenes with a character just to establish that they hate her and she hates them, and then have a situation where Sarah Paxton runs out with her panties on. Like,
that made me like not like the characters more, because they were just like really shitty at their jobs and just like not. And they were kind of like being assholes.
I kind of like it, man. I don't know. None of this stuff really bothered me personally, anyways. But I mean, it's a hotel, so you're gonna have people.
I guess
coming
you
gotta do it Bugs Bunny style, like where like the Bugs Bunny doesn't just attack you. You have to be shitty to Bugs Bunny first, and that's what makes it funny. And Schadenfreude to watch Bugs Bunny hit you with a mallet, like that's what makes it work. And for these characters, it really seemed like these people, like that lady was clearly having a fucking crisis. She's like left her husband for the weekend because
she just wanted some towels. Like,
she just wanted some fucking towels. Like, you can't get up off your ass for 5 seconds to leave some towels, and instead you're just going to call her a bitch behind her back. Like, fuck you, Pat Healy.
Yeah. And also too, like, for a movie that's set in a hotel, like, I just thought it was weird that like there's only 3 guests and none of them really matter except for the old man who kills himself. Like, so I guess like, you have a mom and her son and that's how you like explain the lore, but it's just like, and then the actress just shows up and she literally is just kind of an info dump. Like, oh, there's some ghost here and I'm a medium. I don't know. It's just like, I agree. Like a lot of like the hotel people like just didn't make really any kind of sense or like matter in any kind of way. They're just kind of thrown in there, but especially for a movie set like in a hotel. And the whole thing was like, oh, the 3rd floor is like, you know, everything stripped out of there. I thought that was like a real missed opportunity to like never go to the 3rd floor and do anything really. Or, you know, like it seems like a lot of it was just like, we're in a hotel, but they barely like explore the hotel. Like, they go down the basement and they like, I don't know. It's just like, it seemed like everything was just surface level.
And they go to the basement and they go out round back when they're taking the garbage out and there's like a scare with a bird and stuff. I don't know, man. I think I like the 2 main characters a lot, and I think everybody that checks in the hotel serves some sort of purpose, even if it's not like a grand purpose. They're there for a reason. And I like, as far as like the investigation of the hotel goes, I really like when you're kind of alone with Claire and she's working through everything. Specifically the scene, I thought this was a pretty successful scare as well, actually, when she's in like the dining room and we're sitting in the dining room with her alone and she starts hearing it kind of has that sort of classic reverse audio wispy ghosty sound like showing up in her headphones, and then she hears the piano start playing in the lobby. So she goes around to the lobby and it stops playing, and she walks over to it, and it's just like silence, and you're hanging out there like forever. And then all of a sudden you just see like 3 or 4 keys pressed down like real quick, and then she like freaks out and runs away. And that's sort of like the first real legitimate
I like that
evidence
too.
of a ghost we see. But I don't know, man.
Like those
I
are
like
the
those
kind of
slow moments.
shots. Those are the things that make the movie work for me.
Yeah, for sure.
There was like nice slow build scares. Occasionally, like there are definitely a couple of jump scares at the beginning of this movie.
Yeah. I like the Pat Healy jump
Not the
scare.
I mean, the obvious one, which is used for comedic effect, was what?
The Pat Healy jump scare when he was like
Yeah,
behind her
yeah.
and he tries not to scare her, but he does.
Oh, well, no, that was not the one I was thinking of. That is another good one.
I'm
He's like, I'm right behind you.
Okay,
I don't want to scare
like,
you. She freaks out.
The 90s QuickTime video of the room that like, which is something that I think probably all of us did with our parents when we were fucking
Oh, for
middle
sure.
schoolers. But then
Look
you
real
like,
close.
and then there's also like bird that flies out of the basement into her face, which actually I gotta think that she was actually scared in that, because Sarah Paxton made a blood curdling scream in that scene. If you watch it, she's like,
You know, there was another really good scare actually right before. So towards the end of the movie, right before she goes back down in the basement all alone, she's kind of like standing at the top of the stairs because she doesn't want to go down the basement. The median lady tells her specifically to not go down there. There's only bad shit down there.
Yeah.
So she's at the top of the stairs and she's sort of like hollering for Luke. She thinks that maybe he went down there, and then the camera cuts around to the bottom of the stairs to where we're looking up where she's standing, and then the old guy that just committed suicide is like right fucking behind her, and he just shoves her down the stairs.
Yeah.
Dude, that was a good scare. Like there's some good shit working in this movie.
Yeah, and also you brought up, I forgot too, I guess that kind of adds like lore, not necessarily to the O'Malley ghost, but the median lady, I have forgotten, you said she did say like, don't go down there. And then at the very end of the movie, like Pat Healy is like, you knew this was going to happen. And she's like, nothing could have changed it, which kind of comes back to the whole 3 ghosts thing, where it's like, I don't really know like why she was there, other than maybe like she just like she talks about like her powers and like deja vu, and like she specifically tells her not to go down there, but at the same time like she did know it was going to happen, and she's not upset about it that it happened. And so I don't really know what the point is of that, except that like the way that time is perceived is
honestly
different or something. I don't know.
She does say she doesn't know the names of the 3 ghosts because they won't tell her. She just knows that there's 3 spirits, and that
she does. But at
in the basement.
But at the very end, Pat Healy's like, you knew this was going to happen. You didn't do anything to change it. And she's like, no one could have saved her. So it's like, okay.
To me, that whole her whole character is maybe the biggest bone I have to pick with this movie, because I don't understand her motivation at any point. Every time you think I got my finger on what she wants or what she's attempting to do, even at the end of the fucking movie, I still don't have any idea what this actress is doing. Like, was she just happen to be there because she was in town? Did she go there on purpose to help engineer the situation?
No, she says she's there to speak at a conference, like a self-healing conference.
I know they say that. She says
that felt a little like a ploy.
It could have been a ploy, and that's the thing. It's like it's not. She goes from being really sweet. She goes from being really sweet to Sarah Paxton to being really cruel to being really annoying. Like she just ping pongs all over the place, and it really just doesn't. I never really figure out what this woman's thinking.
She's also like a drunk. She's drinking pretty regularly, so it's.
I mean, but that doesn't. By the end of the movie, I still don't have any clearer picture of what she's doing there or what her end game is.
Yeah, especially with that whole, like, you knew what was going to happen. She's like, nothing could have changed it. So I'm like, was she there because she felt like she was supposed to be there? Or
no, I didn't get that at all.
It feels like she was rewritten a few times or something, and they just left vestiges from previous versions. Because was she there? Like I said, like she could have been there to help orchestrate it, or she might have been there by accident and thought, okay, well, she's not. Don't go down in the basement. And then later she sort of engineers a situation where she's stuck in the basement, and then she's like, yeah, it was going to happen anyway. So it seems almost like a plan, but was it a plan? I don't know. Like it really seems like there's a couple of drafts merged together on this.
Yeah.
For this character.
I don't know.
It doesn't really
I don't think there's that
can't
much
figure it out.
more to it than what's like given to you, or at least I didn't read a whole lot into that character.
No, there doesn't have to be, but like I just don't know. That whole time, that character was just a mystery. She was the mystery in the movie. That's it. I was just trying to figure out what she's trying to do. If it had turned out like the end of the movie was sort of like House of the Devil, where she was like, you're just revealed that she's being creepy and confusing because she's secretly like involved and trying to coerce these bad situations to happen. Then I understand on some level what's happening with this character, and I can understand why she said things this way or whatever. But if I go back and watch this movie right now, every scene I'm going to be just as confused because she plays it so differently every shot, and she says things that lead in very different directions for me. I don't know. That character is a problem for me.
I don't know. I don't think so. I think she's just wants to be left the fuck alone, and she's staying at this hotel. And then whenever Claire reveals to her that she's been basically ghost hunting throughout the hotel, then she's interested in Claire. Then she's like, okay, come into my room. We're gonna have a drink. We're gonna talk about this because this is my fucking wheelhouse. This is what I'm interested in. You know, I'm not interested in acting, which is what Claire was trying to talk to her about earlier. She doesn't give a fuck about acting anymore. She's found like this new life purpose, I guess. So they talk about these ghosties, and she gets her little crystal out, and now they're kind of connecting, and she warns her. And we don't really get a whole lot of the actress past that scene. We get a little bit here and there, but that's really her fucking purpose, is to kind of info dump on us a little bit. But that explains like why she's so fucking icy. And then she's like, okay, let's get into my room right now. We're going to talk about this.
That's a good point.
Yeah, but then you're right. The info dump, I can see your point on that for sure. But it just like, it seems to me that if you're going to have that character and you're going to have all these details about this character and you're going to have this mystery surrounding this character, there should be some sort of conclusion as to why she's info dumping this besides happenstance. Like, or if it is happenstance, I like push that home a little bit more for me. Like by the end of the movie, that last line, like Justin says, is really what puts it all into flux. It's like I could have accepted that she was just a bystander who was figuring it out as she went along too, but with psychic medium powers. But the way she says that is like, well, there's nothing I could have done. And the other thing is like, she's the one who says, oh, I'm going to go upstairs and get my stuff. You got to get out of here right now. Yeah. She goes upstairs and it's dis-a-fucking-peers.
Also, there's a medium convention that she's speaking at, and there's this hotel in the city that's famously haunted, and no other mediums go to stay at this hotel. What the fuck?
I don't know, man.
That's some bullshit.
I don't know. Maybe it's pedantic and it's just getting hung up for me because she's such a big part of why Sarah, who's definitely the central character for me, why Sarah's doing the things that she's doing. It's informed entirely almost by her and Pat Healy. And we know what Pat Healy's deal is on some regard, at least to some level. He likes her. He's into ghost hunting, whether for her purposes of wooing her or for his own purposes, doesn't matter. That's why they're talking about it. But when you get to her, it's like, I don't know what to fucking think. Like, is she just a plot device character, really? If she is, then she's just poorly disguised.
I think she largely is kind of a plot device character. I want to like wrap up the end of this movie real quick, and then we can rate this thing. Like towards the end of the movie, Sarah Paxton and Pat Healy, they go down in the basement with their little recorder, and they're sitting in the room where allegedly the corpse of Madeleine O'Malley was kept for 3 days before she was actually disposed of. And they're sitting in there, and they're hearing creepy things on their recorder, and Sarah Paxton looks up, and she's like, oh shit. The ghost is fucking right behind you, Luke. And we don't actually see the ghost, but she says he's there. And then Pat Healy freaks the fuck out and like runs out the room, and that's when he kind of comes clean. He's like, I made all this shit up. I never seen the ghost before. I gotta fucking leave now. And he leaves, and then he ends up coming back actually, which is cool because I was like, what a dick move, dude. I like you. And then he comes back, kind of redeems himself a little bit. But anyway. Sarah gets like shoved down the stairs. She gets like a crazy head wound. She's bleeding from the head. And the ghost is like chasing her. She runs back into that room where Madeleine O'Malley's corpse was kept, and she locks the door because she's terrified of this ghost. And we hear banging on the other side of the door, which you assume is the ghost. And while Sarah's in that room, then we see the ghost of Madeleine O'Malley reappear, and she just like creeps up on her, and then it kind of cuts to black, and then we see the next morning apparently she has died, and it's then revealed to us that Pat Healy was the one banging on the other side of the door trying to get in to help her, which is like, I found that to be like pretty fucking tragic and sad. but also you have that like weird comment from the median lady that's like, nobody could have changed this. However, she never did admit that she knew exactly what was going to happen. She just says, nobody could have changed it. You know, it's sort of written in the stars kind of thing.
You can interpret it a bunch of ways, and sometimes that's good, but in this case, not for me.
I liked it, man. I really don't have problems with this movie. I really don't. I like it a lot. I don't know. So is there anything else you guys want to touch on before we rate this thing?
I don't think so.
Cool. So out of 5, let's go ahead and rate this bad boy. Justin, you want to kick us off? How you feel?
Yeah, I feel like I'm stuck in the middle. The parents are fighting, and old Boostains is just it's caught in the middle. I have problems with this movie. I like a lot of things about this movie. I am torn on it. I keep going back and forth. Again, some things that we have talked about, like, were enlightening, or like, oh yeah, I didn't see it that way. And that's intriguing, because to me, like, even coming out of this movie, I was like, man, this movie's like pretty thin. Like, it's pretty straightforward, like, honestly, but like talking about it has brought up like these new things. So that's interesting to me, like coming out and being like, well, that was what it was. But then to have these other things be pulled out, I'm like, well, okay, maybe it's a little deeper than I thought. Again, I still like, I appreciate it a lot from the craft standpoint. And like I said before, once I realized that this was like a Ty West thing, like being familiar, like if I wasn't familiar with Ty West, like if this is the first Ty West movie I watched and this was it, I'd be like, what the fuck? Like, this is like weird choices. But to be like, but to know like that he kind of does that he like picks the style of movie and like makes that like kind of movie, and he writes and directs and edits it also. They're all like purposeful choices. I feel like it was like really interesting to watch, from like the score and like from the time period, like the, just like the porn and like those jump scare videos and all of it like surrounding it. It just made it like interesting and like, oh yeah, okay, like that makes sense, or that's very intriguing to see. Like, I was almost like, why would you want to make this kind of movie? But like that he did, and did it so successful, and like that I like liked it like more than not, was like interesting, especially because like that's not particularly like my flavor. Like, that's not something I like would be like, that's the kind of movie I want to see. So I don't know, it's all just very intriguing, and I think he made the movie he wanted to make. It's got problems. Like, I still don't think it's very deep. The character choices were strange sometimes. But overall, it's still going to be a positive for me. I think I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. Definitely better than The Frighteners.
Sweet. 3 out of 5. All right. Randy, how do you feel?
Okay, so I made a few notes for myself, because I have some specific gripes and specific louds here. So I think the main thing is that encompasses all my faults for this movie is that I never really just got a super solid footing in this movie. And I didn't, because like the characters don't really have an arc. As relatable as they seem to be at the beginning, they're a little bit too shitty for me to like be superimposing myself into. Yeah. A little too shitty. Sarah less so, which is good because she's the central protagonist. But overall, it's just sort of like, I don't know. Like, and then the lore, which would normally bolster that, is a little bit confused. I think, like, I don't understand why they give the intention of the ghost of Madeline McCann. Oh my God, that's not the right name.
O'Malley.
That's a real life person. Madeline, what was it?
O'Malley.
Thank you. Madeline O'Malley. Like, well, they say, oh, she was left at the altar, she hung herself, and now she goes around looking for a new husband or whatever. So why is she haunting Sarah Paxton so much? I guess because she's asking for it, literally. Like, you could say that. But then you've got like the old man who she's very kind to, and who chases her to her death, like as a ghost later on. So what's his fucking deal? What's going on with the ghosts in this goddamn place? What's their end game? Is it just to be spooky and scare and kill people? I don't know why. Because why has nobody else ever been killed? I don't know. So the lore kind of lacks for me as well. The characters don't grow. The style, which you made some good points here, both of you, about like what the style seems to be, and I'm willing to buy it. It just wasn't made apparent to me in 2 viewings. That was never made super explicit to me, or it never really really landed for me in the way that it landed for you guys, it sounds like. So it's just hard for me to like have a footing in this movie. And then the score was just like a gripe that I have, because it was so like, oh my God, this is, and that again goes to style, where if I knew that, it's the same thing as like the House of the Devil, like it has sort of a wonky 80s movie score, but it's because you know that's what it's going for, and the intentionality really does, the understanding that it's intentional really does change that perspective for me. I didn't know that was intentional in this, and it really sort of felt like I was getting into a Disney Channel like Phantom of the Megaplex or deal here. I don't know. It just didn't really work for me when I was watching it. Posthumously, sure, but maybe I'll give it another watch and it'll be different. Now the positives, and these are big, and like they're so big that they really heavily outweigh a lot of what I just described. The scares and how they're shot is so good. Just in general, the cinematography is really fucking good in this. This movie looks great. I love that. Some of the comedy doesn't land for me, but some of it does. Like I like hearing the banter. It's relatable, like the early banter especially. Like I said, they're a little too shitty for me to be super invested, but they're funny at least, and they're fun to like watch interact. Them ringing the bell against each other, like that sort of shit. Like that was fun. I enjoyed that. So those are like just two major things that really made me charmed me by this movie. The scares being a horror movie were a huge deal for me, but everything else just sort of like it just didn't feel fully supported, and I just had a hard time figuring out what the movie was going for. So be that my failing or the movie's, it's tough for me to say now, but I'm going to go ahead and give it the score that I intended to give it originally tonight, which is a 3 out of 5.
Oh, wow.
All right.
Yeah, I know. Like I said, I railed on it hard. I want to make it clear that this is a movie I enjoy. I just, watching it for the second time, a lot of little gripes kind of presented themselves to me, and a lot of like bigger questions never really answered themselves satisfactorily for me. So
yeah. Wow. Bob, how do you feel about this movie?
Hey, thanks for asking, man. I want to know your opinion. I think Randy had a pretty decent point actually about the ghost just sort of like fucking killing people out of the blue. That's a good point that hadn't occurred to me before. I just kind of wrote it off as like, I don't know, ghosts do what they fucking do. They're just ghosts. They're
ghosts be ghosting.
Ghosts be ghosting. Yeah, that's a decent point. Other than that though, I don't know that I personally have any sort of like gripes with this movie. I really don't. Like I fucking love Pat Healy. He's amazing. He's America's sweetheart.
Why do you love Pat Healy?
Everything I've seen him in.
Fucking actor. He's a relatable actor.
Yeah, everything I've seen him in, I've just enjoyed the shit out of. I find him, I don't know, yeah, just very relatable.
Cheap
and also
Thrills is a fucking classic.
Cheap Thrills is amazing. Also Compliance, which we've talked about on the show prior. But I like Sarah Paxton a lot too, and I like their camaraderie and like their back and forth, and also I just love the setting and like the general like layout of the plot of this movie. Just like being alone in this old ass hotel late at night, going through with like your little recorder, trying to snoop out some ghosties, and it's just like slow and intimate, and then like every once in a while you get the fucking shit scared out of you. I just love the whole setting of it. I really do. And the comedy works for me like very well. It keeps you laughing. It keeps you jumping out of your seat. Like even though the characters aren't like super, super deep and it's nothing like really original per se, I don't really think it's like trying to be, it's just trying to do what it's doing. And I think it succeeds at what it's trying to do pretty well. It's sort of like, it's very much like The Shining Light, it's, and like I said, it's got some like really solid spooky season vibes, which just is like a little cherry on top for me. I don't know, man. I like this movie a lot. I don't have a whole lot of negatives. And regarding the score specifically, I thought it was awesome. I really liked it quite a bit, actually. So I'm going to give that a 4.5 out of 5, and that's going to make our aggregate a 3.5.
Wow, 4.5 out of 5. Bob, that was such a mystery to me.
You never know what I'm going to do.
You're as mysterious as the medium actress.
You never
Let's
know.
see if Bob lines up with the critics or with the people on this one.
We'll see. Maybe neither. Yeah, let's go ahead and get into our Rotten Tomatoes segment there and talk about the users in the critic store.
Certified fresh to death.
Take it away, Juice.
All right, you old bitches. We're going to go around the table. I'll let you guys guess what you think the critics have rated this and then what the oozers have rated this. Let's start with the critics. Solid count on this one. 120 critics reviewed The Innkeepers. So let's let Randy go first. Randy, what do you think the critics rated The Innkeepers?
This is kind of a tough one. How many critics you said?
120.
It's not a ton. I'm gonna say 70%.
70%. All right, Rob.
I avoided the comedy number intentionally.
Good call.
Yeah, no.
I don't know.
Leaving room for Bob to make his comedy.
This is a tough one to call. It really is. I don't fucking know, man. Probably lower than whatever House the Devil is, which I don't remember what that. I think that was pretty high. I'll go like 65. I'm gonna go 65
going lower.
Yeah.
All right. You went the wrong way, Bob. Randy's going to take it. It was an 80%.
Sweet.
80%,
like
which
that.
is surprising. I think, if I had known, like, I wouldn't have guessed that high, honestly. Like, I probably would have guessed around like 60, something like that.
Yeah, I agree.
The critic consensus is it doesn't break any rules of the genre, but The Innkeeper serves as additional proof that Ty West is a young director that discriminating horror fans can trust. Yeah.
Okay.
Agreed.
I guess, yeah.
That's a weird way of putting that, but okay.
Yeah, that was weird. So
It doesn't really comment on the movie. It just comments on Ty West. Is
Ty
at
West.
it again.
Yeah, it's like, oh, Ty West is doing a good job.
He did it again.
He did good.
He did.
So yeah, and like I said, and that's on it. Well, that's kind of like my big thing about it too. It's like, damn, Ty West, you wrote, direct, and edit this movie, and you clearly made it like a very particular, like themed late 90s, early 2000s Hallmark made for TV. Like it's like such a specific choice, but he like nailed it like to a T. So I'm just like, well, hot damn, good job, Ty West.
Yeah, he's
like,
kind of a chameleon of a director. He can do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
If they could have just shown Pat Healy watching an episode of 24, I probably would have gotten the theme a little better. Probably would have landed in the late 90s.
All right, let's go
Early
to
2000s.
the audience score. User ratings 93,000 on the user ratings. So let's let Bob go first on this one. Bob, what do you think the people think about old Ty West?
I'll go with an 80. I'll go a little higher. 80.
80. Okay. Think this is a cult classic, huh, Bob?
Maybe.
I definitely think that this movie is going to have big old fans. Ty West has got his following for sure. Deserved. I'm going to 80 is a pretty good guess. I'm going to go with 85.
85. Randy, you went the wrong way. See, this makes sense. This is how Boostain feels being pulled in between. Even though Randy ended at a 3, I felt I was stuck in the middle. 42%.
Damn.
On the audience score.
That's
42.
weird.
Dude, this is a very particular movie. And we just happen to grow up.
Wily fucking movie, apparently.
Well, yeah, this is set in a time where we like kind of grew up. So I feel like some things might be more relatable.
Maybe,
if you happen to be like 20 years old watching this movie or like 50 years old watching this movie, you might be like, what the shit is this movie? Like, it's so... It's so particular, the style he chose for this, that like it doesn't surprise me all that much because it's like
but that depends like on you understanding that that's the style, which I certainly didn't.
yeah, I guess I think he nailed it, but it's so particular that it's like, yeah, okay. So 42% on the audience score. People are not digging on this one too much.
All right. Weird.
I really like those characters. It's fact that these are like minimum wage workers. I've been that guy I was that guy for many years, working minimum wage and shooting bull with whoever you happen to be working with.
Yeah,
that's what I relate to in this movie more than anything else. So
yeah,
I was just pondering that.
I agree, and I've been there too, but I didn't like the characters that much. Like, I don't know. They were a little too shitty for me.
It's okay to be
Yeah, they
wrong.
definitely were. And that's where I drew the line. I was like, I would never treat a customer this way. This doesn't strike me as realistic.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm nicer than
Maybe.
most of the people in that position, but like that's I'm an asshole.
Randy, are we going to forgo trivia tonight?
I could cover it if we got time.
Yeah,
Your
we
call.
do. If you got some stuff, we got it. Let's go ahead and get into some trivia.
It's totally time for trivia.
Take it away.
All right, so the main thing that I'm going to cover is from an IndieWire interview from 2012 on this movie with Ty West. So I'm just going to sort of like read a few back and forth, not a lot, not the whole thing, but I definitely recommend anybody listening to this give it a read because it's really interesting behind the scenes stuff. So here's the question. The story behind the reason you made the Innkeepers is almost as good and scary as the film itself. Can you tell it for those who aren't familiar? And here's Ty's response. Well, the hotel that inspired the film is actually in the film. What happened was we were making my previous film, The House of the Devil, and we were staying at this hotel called the Yankee Peddler Inn because it was the best option to put the crew up. It was the cheapest and nicest place we could find, about 25 minutes from our location. We'd go and shoot a satanic horror movie nearby, but the weirder stuff would happen back at the hotel. It just started off kind of goofy, but it became this thing where most of the cast and crew started to think there was something up with the hotel. The staff of the hotel believe it is haunted. The town believes it's haunted. So it has this kind of mystique to it. So, I mean, House of the Devil was being made and while he was conceiving of this movie, which I find that very interesting.
That is really cool.
Again,
that
like I was
story
saying,
itself almost just justifies this movie. Like,
right, exactly. I would want to make that movie too. It's like, well, what better experience than your own to draw from? And that's that same thing of like Ty West is pulling from reality. He's pulling from the reality of cults, the reality of like a real story of cults, a real story of not real cults in the Satanic Panic movie, and then a real story about a haunting that he himself partially experienced. So I thought that was fucking great. And to elaborate a little bit on this, on what his hauntings he experienced, he said, well, I'm a skeptic, so I don't really buy it. But I've definitely seen doors close themselves. I've seen a TV turn off and on by itself. The lights would always burn out in my room. Everyone on crew had very vivid dreams at night. Strange. The one that is most intriguing to me in the film, the most haunted room is the honeymoon suite. That's where the ghost stuff started in the hotel. The only reason I picked that room is the only reason I picked the room that I picked to shoot in was because it was big enough to do a dolly shot. No more thought went into it other than pure technical reasons. So when we're finishing the movie, I find out that is the most haunted room in real life. It's the room I picked to be the haunted room in the movie. It could be a coincidence. It's weird that it happened that way. So, and he goes on to cover a few other things. But man, like that's fucking cool. Of course, like I would be fucking stoked to be involved in this movie. And Ty West has every reason to be proud of this movie, to be honest. But like I said, it just doesn't necessarily translate universally. Yeah. There's no one-to-one for everyone else to grab onto the way there is with Jim Jones stories and Satanic Panic stories.
The budget on this movie was super low too. I think it was like 750,000 I think was the total budget on this movie. So that was kind of cool too. Super low budget.
Yeah. So the last thing I'm going to talk about, sorry, Bob, go ahead.
No, go for it, man. You're good.
That's just the last thing I was going to cover. I'm trying to make it quick. The Yankee Peddler Inn is located in Torrington, Connecticut. This is just the Wikipedia page, but I feel like it's worth noting. In Torrington, Connecticut, USA, the inn has 52 rooms, was built for the original owners in 1891, and it was not originally called the Yankee Peddler. It changed that name in 1959, I think it said. But then here's the interesting thing. The inn closed on the 1st of December 2015 for extensive renovations, which were expected to take 7 to 9 months to complete, but subsequently stalled due to lack of funds. In September 2017, the property owner, Jason Hospitality, said renovations would begin in the fall. Residents improvements to our beloved Yankee Peddler this fall with an anticipated reopening in the spring of 2018 under the umbrella of Best Western Plus, a press release said. The inn has never reopened, and locals say it will never reopen.
Spooky.
So, I mean,
Very
like,
spooky.
right, not too fucking long after, like 2 years after the end of this movie about this building closing, this hotel closing, it closed down. It's a real haunted hotel, or supposedly haunted hotel. that really got closed down, and I gotta wonder what that last night of work was like.
Yeah. Somebody got murdered. A murder most
Dude,
foul.
maybe we should start a GoFundMe and that'll Straight Channel will buy it up. Scoop it up real quick.
And fly you back home to run it. I don't know that this movie really has a cooter. I didn't really pick up on one. Did you guys?
Nah, there's like barely any like characters at all.
There's not a flesh. It's hard. It's weird to say that there's not a character a character that's fleshed out enough to be a cooter, because that is not a very strong character to be fleshed out.
Yeah.
But it's just not.
Yeah,
Everybody's pretty shallow.
yeah. I don't really see one either. All right, well, let's go ahead and get into a little bit of horror news.
Extra, read all about it.
We're going to read all about it. All right, so yeah, first thing I got up here, we got some news. John Carpenter is apparently going to be co-writing a one-shot Joker comic book that's going to be coming out this Halloween, if you're interested in that.
If I read that correctly... Oh, wait, continue. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say the plot of it, apparently. It puts the Joker on a mission to get his swagger... It actually says swagger. Get his swagger back in a world gone bad by outbatting everyone else, proving that the greatest evil is always the one that leaves them laughing. What did you have on it?
I think I had read that. I think somebody posted it in the Slack, and I think that he's collaborating with the writer of Borderlands 2, which is the game I go on and on and on about as being like one of my favorite games. Like the writing in that game is like fantastic and includes like one of the best and like notable video game villains. So like that's cool if that's the case.
Yeah, that is the case. Anthony Birch is the guy you're talking about. Yeah, he wrote Borderlands 2. So yeah, it's coming out October 9th. And they have like a little preview of the artwork up online. You can have a look at that, and it looks terrifying. Looks solid.
That's awesome, dude. That combo, man, Borderlands 2 is fucking dope. And like I said, the villain in that is like fan-fucking-tastic, and that's a cool collaboration.
Nice.
2 things I love, 3 things I love, I guess, all mashing up there.
Yeah. Yeah, Carpenter's done some comic book work previously too. He's got a couple anthology comic books that I think they're called like Tales of Halloween or something. I forget what they're called, but he's got a couple of those that he's put out too.
Cool.
It could be good, man. I don't know. I don't buy a lot of comics these days, but I would be interested in that for sure. Yeah. Just seeing John at work is enough for me. I don't know much about Borderlands. Yeah. Sounds good.
Yeah, he's I feel like he's gonna make another movie at some point. It's just a matter of time. I don't know. Just a matter of time before we're talking about it. This is the next bit of news. We've talked about Lee Winnell's iteration of The Invisible Man that's coming out. We got a release date, so it's coming out March 13th of 2020, being produced by Blumhouse. And it's going to have Elizabeth Moss, Storm Reed, Aldous Hodge, and Harriet Dyer in it. And also the titular Invisible Man is going to be played by Oliver Jackson Cohen, who we saw previously last year in The Haunting of Hill House. He's the brother. I forget the character's name, but he's the brother who's got the drug addiction. That guy. So he's going to be the Invisible
In what movie?
Man. So he was in The Haunting of Hill House, the show on Netflix.
The guy, the brother who's got, the brother who,
the drug
Luke,
addiction,
isn't it? Luke.
Luke. Yeah, he's going to be the Invisible Man in Lee Winnell's movie. I don't know. I think that'll work.
I could see that working.
Yeah,
he does. He does a great job in the show, like everyone. But
yeah.
And Lee's got his own pedigree.
He does, yeah. I'm excited about that, man. Apparently the plot is solid, and it's going to be nice and low budget, not this like CGI fucking mummy Tom Cruise spectacle bullshit. So it should work.
Are they still trying to connect it or no?
No, not at all. Not in the slightest. This is totally its own thing. So yeah, I'm stoked about that. March, that should be a good one to talk about early next year.
Yeah.
Also, we got word talking about Netflix bullshit. Mindhunter Season 2 is going to be coming back August 16th.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, you will be my friend.
There's going to be a Charles Manson character in it, which that'll be fucking cool. I'm excited about that.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Nice.
And it's also, oh shit, I didn't read this prior, but so the Manson's going to be played by actor Damon Harriman, who also is portraying Manson in Quentin Tarantino's movie Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So he's doubling down on the Manson.
Wow.
That's pretty cool.
That's
shit.
interesting. Huh.
That's kind of shared universe theories you ignite.
I think the first season of Mindhunter might have helped inspire us with the cooter hunting.
Yeah, we're
I mean, they helped us write the book. That's for sure.
We started to build the profile and everything, you know? I had to categorize them and
Cooter profile. We're not as academic as the Mindhunters, though. It's much more about gut feeling.
true.
I don't know.
I mean,
We've got a whole chart and everything.
we're astute. Yeah, we've got points that we measure people on. It's very scientific. We have we have our own method. We have our own method.
The science. We measure points like smugness.
we measure them in sands.
Shittiness.
You know, in the Jeremiah Sands scale, you know.
That's
How
right.
many sands they got?
How many sands you got? How many sands you got on this guy?
He's got about
Not a lot of
80
sands on this one, Jim.
80 sands, all right. 80
apparently-
sands on the smug.
which is a lot. That'll get you there. The new season of Mindhunter here apparently is going to explore the Atlanta child murders, which I am unaware of, but apparently it's a series of killings that took place between 1979 and 1981, in which 28 African American children and teens and adults were killed. So that's a fucking lot of people, man. That's interesting. I guess it's going to be going down in Atlanta.
Yep.
Whoa.
Sounds
that's
like it, Jim.
crazy.
If
We did not hear a word of that, just so you know. It
oh,
was
you
all
did?
robot.
Okay,
Well, me and Randy have no idea what you're talking about.
Nope.
that's fine. That's fine.
Just had to have some generic ass responses. Oh, wow. That
I
is
was-
Had your little aside with the camera because we weren't there, man.
I was definitely confused by your responses, but that makes sense. Thank you for clarifying.
I look forward to listening back to that.
Sounds like it's real interesting information.
Oh, yeah.
That's very high quality info there. Thanks for sharing that. Last bit of news. The Simpsons Treehouse of Horror episode has been slated for release on October 20th, 2019. It's actually going to be their 666th episode, which is kind of ironic.
Oh, my God.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
That's nuts for several reasons.
Yeah.
It's going to be their 30th Halloween episode.
God damn. I don't know, man. Like, I haven't watched the last 300 episodes,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah, seriously. But it's gonna be spoofing Stranger Things and The Shape of Water, and definitely some other stuff. But those are the two that we know for sure.
Okay.
Ooh,
Cool ones
timely
to-
to 2 years ago.
Yeah,
Dude, I watched one back in when I was back in the States, so probably like 4 or 5 years ago, and it was so bad. I was so disappointed by how bad it was. But
new
it was
ones
like
are a
the
little
first
rough.
Simpsons episode I had watched in like forever, but it was specifically Treehouse of Horrors. I don't remember what they were spoofing at the time, but it was just it was rough.
yeah.
Their spoofs have gone way, way into the category
But-
of not.
Yeah, I can't believe that show's still going, but it's like super cool that it's the 666th episode for the Treehouse of
Yeah.
Horror. Like that's nuts.
That's
like,
neat. They could just end
Yeah.
it there, maybe.
probably should.
They could. Yeah, they won't.
Didn't it start with it? No, it started with the Christmas episode. I was about to say, did it start with the Treehouse
Yeah.
of Horror? But
No, it's like Treehouse is like first one. Did they have one? I don't know. It doesn't matter.
yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't.
Who knows? So yeah, that's it. That's all I got for news. But we do have a voicemail this week. If you want to hit us up and leave us a voicemail to be featured on the show, you can call us at 904-638-3231.
Looks pretty long.
It's a couple minutes. It's not crazy long.
Yeah, all right. No, I know. Just looking at the voice to text is hilarious.
Yeah, it's always wildly wrong every time.
Oh yes. So let me
As
get
always.
this
Thanks,
queued
Google
up
Voice.
here. Hotline Scream.
Hotline Scream.
Do we have a bump
All
for
from our
Hotline Scream?
friend Brandon Hall.
No, Brandon Hall.
God, we need to make all kind of new bumps.
I made one, but then we couldn't use it because it was copyright infringement, so I didn't make another one. But let's go.
Oh yeah.
Let's go ahead and hear from Brandon, as Google Voice says, which is incorrect.
Brandon Hall.
Let's get into it. Here we go.
Hey, Straight Chilling. My name is Brennan Hall. I've been a fan of your guys' show for a hot second now. I'm calling from Tennessee, and I just listened to the Midsummer episode, and I don't think that you guys missed anything, because like you said, you can talk about this movie forever. There's so much that goes into it, but I wanted to ask about one specific thing. The dude, the other half of the British couple, and his name escapes me, but whenever Christian runs out after the weird orgy thing that happens, whatever, and he goes into the barn and the dude is hanging there, did anybody happen to notice that he was still alive? Like, am I the only one that found it super duper fucked up? Because that's my one thing. The only thing that got me more about this movie than Hereditary, because I don't do super well with the ghosty stuff. I don't know why. But the concept of being trapped inside of yourself, I guess, because it was something that was touched on with Human Centipede and with Tusk, is like being conditioned or being permanently mutilated in such a way that you're still human, but you're not human on the outside, if that makes sense. Like, you're something completely different, but you still have the conscious thoughts and consciousness of a human being. It just really got to me, I guess, because you've got to think, like, the dude's hanging there and he's got flowers in his eyes and they cut his lungs out for whatever reason. Maybe it was just for like visual appeal for the audience, I don't know, but that definitely got me. And I guess my question is that something that bothers anybody else? Because that's one thing that it was super unsettling to me. Like, the entire movie is written to be extremely unsettling, disturbing, but that scene, just like, why keep him alive for that long? Because whenever he walks in, his lungs are like contracting and he's still breathing. So I don't know if anybody else picked up on that. Just wanted to ask, but is that something that bothers you? Thanks.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for calling, Brenna. Definitely not
Brandon.
It's a pleasure.
Brenna's a big fan of Get Out. It's true.
It's a pleasure hearing from you. Thanks for calling. And to be honest, I got to say, I didn't pick up on that in Midsummer, as far as that guy still being alive. Yeah, I totally read him as dead, but I don't know. Did you guys pick up on it?
Oh, no, I definitely did. In fact, my first thought was that he, like, so what's happening there is his back has been cut open, his rib cage has been opened, and his lungs and other organs are pulled out of his body to the side, and they're dripping there. I thought that it was some sort of like, okay, his blood is fertilizing the soil sort of thing, or some sort of ritualistic thing. And I mean, in some respect, it obviously was within the movie. But this has actually been making the rounds for a few days now, I think, or like I caught it a couple days ago. This was supposedly an actual torture technique for the Vikings. Call it the blood eagle.
Yeah, the blood eagle.
Literally, like, yeah,
they would do that.
Where
shit.
like it's literally just it's to keep you alive as this horrific thing is happening to you, basically. And not only that, for this guy in the movie, his eyes were also gouged out, so he had it pretty fucking rough. But there's not really much more to it than that. I guess like the blood thing is just an inference by me. But yeah, supposedly this happened. But I also just found an article when I was looking this up to respond to Brenna that says that it may never. It says the title of the article is "Blood Eagle: The Viking Torture Method So Grisly Some Historians Don't Believe It Actually Happened." So it may just be a piece of lore in and of itself.
Yeah, the only reason
beyond.
The reason I knew about it is because I watched that show last year, Vikings, and they do that. Like, there's this episode where this dude, the whole thing surrounding it in the show, at least, the context of how they explain it in the show, is like you have to. Their whole thing is like, oh, you want to like go to Valhalla or whatever. So the whole thing for them was like to endure it without like screaming out. And if like you could endure it like a man or whatever, then you would like go to Valhalla. but it was only reserved if you like did something like really fucked up, like treason or some shit. And the whole thing was like to survive it. But yeah, they would like pull your lungs out through your back and like put them on your shoulders, like in the show.
Holy
so like
shit.
you're sitting there like while you're alive and breathing and like to survive. So that's the only reason I knew about it or whatever.
It's like you have a new dongle.
Yeah. So
You plug in a into your USB.
So as far as like the dude like in the movie, like I thought of that, but like at the same time, it's like toward the end of the movie, so much like wild shit's going on that they like barely touch on it, you know. But I will agree with that perspective of like I don't like the movie Tusk, but one of the things that really does bother me that it's not a classic. One of the things that really does bother me about it is that idea, even though it's like played up so silly, but that idea of like I understand that like fear of like being contorted or being like dismembered in such a way, but that you still have to like live with it, you know, kind of the whole thing of like
the sunken place,
or like kind of the thing like back in the day, like, oh, we're going to cut off your arms, legs, eyes, tongue, and nose, but we're going to still leave you like alive to live that way. It's like, oh, well, that's terrible. Like, you know, like that kind of idea. Yeah. That is horrifying. Because then, like, you're not even
but keeping you alive.
Yeah, you're not even left to like be able to like kill yourself, I guess, like or like to not or to like end it. It's like, good lord,
that is pretty rough. I had no idea. I hadn't read about that or seen that at all. But I'm pretty stoked that Brenna brought that to our attention because it was lost on me, and it makes that movie even more horrific than it already was, which is impressive to say.
Thanks for calling in from Tennessee.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Yeah, appreciate it. Appreciate you. Hashtag.
Hashtag
appreciate you. That's our new hashtag. Damn.
The way you spelled it out, Randy, was fucking
appreciate you.
Oh, that's for those keeping score. That's SHIATECHA. So hashtag it up.
We got some of that. It was half robot. Yeah. If you want to call and leave us a voicemail again, you can find us at 904-638-3231. Now it's time for public shaming, the segment.
Yes,
Justin.
we need a bump and we need a proper name for this. We can't call it Bob's Blu-rays because that's the name of our YouTube series.
Should have a bump. We should have a bump and then have us directors commenting over the bump, like, "Oh yes, this bump was brought to kill." That's included in every goddamn book on our.
The vinegar hole, possibly. I don't know. This is where we're going to talk about how much Rob spends on Blu-rays each month, and the goal is by the end of this year, we'll see, could Rob have afforded a jet ski instead of buying all these Blu-rays that he buys?
The answer is
Rob
no.
buying jet skis worth of dividends.
I will give a recap. We just started this segment in June. In the month of June, Rob purchased 14 horror Blu-rays. We're not, and here's the rule that we're not including non-horror DVDs. We are only including Rob's horror DVDs. 14 for the month of June. So far in the month of July, 2. We are at the 2 count. So, Rob, let's talk about what you have bought this past week since we talked to you last.
God help us if you ever get your ass. We'll have to figure out how to tally that shit.
Great.
So, Rob, what's new in the realm of Bob's Blu-rays?
Well, I did order Hobgoblins, which is a Vinegar Syndrome joint. It's definitely.
Oh my God!
Hobgoblins. Have you seen it?
Fuck yeah, that's like one of my favorite Mystery Science Theater episodes,
Really?
bro.
Oh shit!
Nice. It's great. It's definitely better than just the movie.
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it yet. But yeah, it seems to me that it's like a Gremlins knockoff of sorts, something like that.
Oh, absolutely.
Nice.
You might even call it a Ghoulies knockoff. Is that Ghoulies? Yeah, like it's low tier Gremlins knockoff.
Nice. So yeah, I picked that up from Vinegar Syndrome, and also Barnes and Noble's having a half off all of their Criterion collection stuff. I think it's going on for like another week or something like that. So I went by there today and I picked up a few movies. I I got a House, which we've done an episode on previously.
Yes, good choice.
Also known as Housu. It's a Japanese,
that's
fantasy horror.
Fever dream horror movie.
Ooh, from the 70s, right? 78 or something.
I don't remember.
70,
something like that.
Late 70s, I want to say.
It is.
God, that movie, that's a good purchase, Bob. That's worth the money.
It is frenetic.
That is worth the money.
It's a good movie. Yeah.
I've watched my Housekeeping DVD probably 30 times.
Holy shit.
I also picked up a David Cronenberger joint, The Brood, which is hard to watch.
That's a weird one.
It's a weird one.
Hard to watch, but must be owned.
It must be.
Man, the things that happen in that movie are bizarre.
Yeah.
Tough to describe.
That's
Got to
accurate.
get that Cronenberger lyric book, right, Bob?
Cronenberger. I also
Cronenberger on Cronenberger.
I also picked up a David Lynch joint, a movie that I watched with you once previously, Randy. I got Blue Velvet.
I'm shocked to hear that.
I have been wanting to really be able to appreciate David Lynch, and I just am not there yet. I want to give Blue Velvet a second shot, so I picked that up.
You've cut out completely. I have no idea what you're talking about now.
Blue Velvet. He wants to appreciate it.
Yeah.
You got Blue Velvet.
Yeah.
You got Blue Velvet? Blue
Got it.
Velvet's fucking great.
Got it. Yeah.
Fucking good choice on that front.
So those are the four you can add there, Juice.
Okay.
And I would say that's horror adjacent. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wait, it was Hobgoblins, Blue Velvet, what else?
The Brood and House. Yeah.
And the Brood. Okay. And only one of those
and the
was
Brood.
from
Those are all
Vinegar Syndrome, right, Bob?
adjacent.
Yeah, that is correct.
But you said they release 4 movies each month, right?
Yeah, that's kind of their thing, yeah.
Okay. So did they...
You get 2 copies of each month, right?
No,
did they
not at all.
Does Vinegar Syndrome release them like what, one a week or something? Is that how they usually do it?
They all come out on the same day, and it's just kind of like, I don't know, maybe mid-month-ish. They just sort of like, all come out. Yeah.
So you know what has come out for Vinegar Syndrome so far?
Yeah, they're on pre-order now. They're not out yet, but I don't know that I really want any of them.
Oh, okay. Is that for Hobgoblin?
Yeah, I did want that.
So for that one.
Which is
Buddy, I want you to watch that movie and then tell me if you have the stomach to watch it with some perfect. I have a feeling that it might not even be in the cards for you at that point.
The thing about it, it's good. I don't know. Bob does his Bob's Blu-rays on YouTube, which you can check out. And usually on there, he's saying like, oh, these are the good ones. And it's been a while since Bob's done a Bob's Blu-ray.
True.
So maybe most of the movies that he buys are terrible, because it feels like most of the time Bob's like, yeah, I bought this new DVD. Oh, it's real hard to watch. And I'm just like, Bob, you bought 14 last month. I feel like 90% of them were like dog shit.
That's just that's just jet ski money down the tubes.
Your stats are definitely
jet ski.
The vast majority of the stuff that I buy, I do enjoy. But yeah, every once in a while there will be a stinker for sure.
Sea-Doo.
I mean, House.
You got
that's
Blood
fine.
Harvest in there, buddy.
Like, well, we support that purchase. House is fine.
Thanks, Dad.
I support the Blue Velvet. I'll second.
And a Blue Velvet. Okay.
The Brood.
Come on, Cronenberger.
I can understand. You respect your decision. Hobgoblins, I just feel like you're going to regret that one.
We'll see.
So, all right, we are up to 6 DVDs for Bob in the month of July. We still have like 3 weeks left to go, I believe. So, or 2.5. I don't know. We're close.
Yeah, we got like 16 days. Yeah, I think. Yeah, we're about halfway. About halfway there.
Still a lot of purchase time in there, Bob. Don't you worry.
Shopping days left in the season.
Oh, God, and that Halloween season is upon us. Oh, good Lord. God knows Bob's going to go on a bender.
That might be a heavy month. Might be a heavy month. We'll see.
Should we include the Halloween decorations in that as well?
We should not.
I think that's fair.
That can be a different.
It's like a That's like a bonus round.
Bob bought 14 fake jack-o'-lanterns this week.
Bob, you could have afforded 2 Sea-Doos this year.
Mm-hmm. The upkeep on those things, not even worth it.
He's a 2 Sea-Doo kind of boy.
All right, well, we're up to 6 DVDs for July, Bob. And remember, we're just counting the Horde DVDs, so we're being fair here.
Which is primarily what I buy, to be fair.
Okay.
But yeah, that's going to do it for us here this week at Straight Chilling HQ. We're going to be back next week with a brand new episode, per usual. We're going to be talking about Stranger Things 3 in its entirety.
Whoa.
Bam. So catch up on the Netflix, slam your eyeballs into that, get ready for next week's show. Until then, you can please rate, review, and subscribe to us on iTunes. It's an easy way to support the show. It only costs you a couple minutes of your time, and it helps people find us that don't know we exist. It really does help a lot. You can follow us on Twitter at str8_chilling. We're on Instagram at Straight Chilling Podcast. You can send us an email through our website, straightchillingpodcast.com. If you want to join our Slack channel, just let me know via any one of those social media platforms. I'll send you a link so you can join up. We talk about the movie of the week. We talk about video games. We talk about news. We talk about spooky season. We talk about music.
Talk about nudes.
Talk about nudes.
Well, we'll talk about Yabos if we need to.
On occasion. Yeah, we talk about cooters. We talk about all kinds of stuff.
Talk about monsters. The usual.
Talk about Randy freezing up.
We're
Yeah.
having a rough week this week.
Jump on Twitch.
Yep.
Or just jump on the Xbox and play some Friday the 13th with us tomorrow. Also, check out our live show this Wednesday, the 17th at Sunray Cinema. Sleepaway Camp. Don't miss it. I think that's everything I have to shill.
Yeah, watch Bob play like the first video game in like the past 10 years with Friday the 13th Monday night.
Yeah, seriously. I'm just going to be yelling. What?
Now, where are all the 1-up mushrooms?
How do you
Gamer
collect
Bob.
coins? These games are
We'll
all
see if
about
we can
coins.
survive.
Yeah.
Who's got the high score? Is it you?
I bet it's ass.
Fella named Ass. Hey.
There it is.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's going to do it for us. Until next week, as always, everybody, please keep chilling.